Hey everyone, it is Craig here, and I'm coming to you from my house, not a theme park or the studio, and I know it's a little bit different, but I just had to sit down and do a proper review of Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure because, well, I haven't done it yet. So, earlier this week, I had the chance to ride it a handful of times during the media event for it, and I just was so caught up in the moment of capturing all the footage I could of the queue and the pre-show, the areas that I was allowed to, that then when it came to actually like filming a vlog talking about my experience there, I just flat out forgot. And and so I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I still need to get my thoughts out there. We don't have a universal show for you this week. I don't want to make you wait till next week. Rhino hasn't experienced the attraction yet, so I don't really need him here for this. I would love for him to be here, and I wish he had a chance to ride it, but hopefully very soon. But I still need to share my thoughts with you on that. So I'm going to do that in just a second. First, I'm going to start this video off by showing you kind of a little bit of a detailed look at the queue, not the full walkthrough with the pre-show and everything. I do have that video available at youtube.com/wdwinfo, but I'm just going to show you a little bit of a shorter one just to give you an idea of it. So if you don't want to see it, well, just skip ahead. I think it's about 2 minutes, give or take. So just skip ahead 2 minutes and you can see it in person for the first time if that's how you want to experience it. But chances are, I'm going to be talking about spoilers. So if you don't even want to see the queue, then chances are you don't really want to listen to any of the rest of this. So I don't feel bad if you turn it off. That's on you. But I'm kidding anyway. So we're going to go ahead and show that, and then I will be right back. if you want to watch that video again, like I said, the full queue walkthrough, or even the grand opening moment that happened a couple nights before the ride had its grand opening with the film talent from the Harry Potter film series, then you can always do that at youtube.com/wdwinfo or at our website, universal.wdwinfo.com. Anyways, let's get on with the review. Did I say anyways or anyways? I don't know. See, even from home, I can't speak properly, so just another normal video with Craig. So I love this attraction so much. I said immediately after getting off of it for the first time that I'm pretty sure that it's my favorite roller coaster in Orlando right now. It's definitely my favorite roller coaster at Universal Orlando. I'm not a huge fan of the Hulk. I think it's a great roller coaster. It's just not really for me. I can only do it if I'm sitting in the front row, and even then, it's like only on special occasions, basically. And I love the Mummy, but you know what? The Mummy's not perfect, and so those are the big two. I'm not talking about Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. I do not go on that, so I don't even need to bring that up in there. But yeah, I know there's not a lot to really work with in there, but even if Dragon Challenge was still there, because of course this is on the old spot of Dragon Challenge, Dueling Dragons, even if it was there and they would have built this somewhere else, this is superior. I love Dragon Challenge. I worked there for a while, and so it's very special. It's where I met my wife, but ultimately Hagrid's is so much better. I loved working at Dragons, and I loved getting to ride it all of the time, but and it was a capacity hog. It could just get so many people on it, and that was one of the great aspects of it. But it was sad that like a lot of times when I'd be there, we only had like a 5 or 10 minute wait, and even like on a really busy day, I think like the busiest wait was maybe over like Christmas week or something, and we got it up over an hour. But I mean, that's just it never really was like insanely popular compared to everything else. I mean, maybe way back in the day when it was Dueling Dragons, but definitely in terms of my time at Dragon Challenge, it was never that like it was never the most popular thing out there. But it also wasn't, it had fans. It had so many fans. A lot of people loved it. They thought it was the best attraction, and they were very sad when it closed. But the first good thing about Hagrid's is that it's really accessible for so many more people than Dragon Challenge was. So, if you had a fear of heights, Dragon Challenge was kind of out. If you didn't like going upside down, that was, it went upside down a lot. But with Hagrid's, it really, when they say it's family friendly, it is pretty family friendly for the most part. I mean, it does have a launch it has 7 launches total, but the one launch goes 50 miles an hour, and it feels fast, but not like terrifyingly fast. And at no point in the attraction are you ever like very high up to the point that if you're afraid of heights, I don't think this is going to be an issue for you at all. And it's the free fall drop in it. It does take you by surprise, but it's not a massive drop. So it's really like it's over in a second, and it maybe even less than that. I don't know. I didn't time it out or anything, but it all happens so quickly. And it relies more on banking and twisting and turning and in moments where it speeds up, and that's where it's delivering on all the thrills. And it's the height requirement for it is 48 inches. So I know that's not like it's not the biggest. So it could be much worse. It could be a 54-inch height requirement there, 52, whatever. But it's also, it's not as accessible as an attraction with a 36-inch height requirement is, or 42. So it's kind of right there in that middle. So a lot of kids will be able to ride it. Unfortunately, some will get turned away. But it's, if your kid's like right there at that height requirement for it, maybe even show them, once you enter the queue, you can see kind of how the motorbikes are moving, and you get an idea for what the attraction is going to be, going to look like. And if they're ready to go for it, they might as well go for it. But I love the ride itself. So it's just, it's still very new. It's smooth. I love the fact that you have the choice of riding in either the motorbike or the sidecar. Unfortunately for me, I'm very tall, so I'm about 6'3", 6'4". The sidecar was very restrictive. It's it's mostly because of my legs. So I'll just say that. I think in terms of both seats, if you have a bit of a bigger waist, I don't think you will get some people turned away for it, but I think a lot of people will be able to ride the attraction. The waist didn't seem like the problem for me overall, but it was my legs when I was sitting in the sidecar. The restraint could only get about to halfway to my thighs before it finally started touching. And I know the second time I rode it, I was hoping I could keep it up just a little bit higher, and I did have to pull it down that extra little bit, and it was not. It's not that it wasn't uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, but it's not like I was going to say, okay, well, no, I'd rather get pulled off and go sit on the motorbike. If there would have been no one on the motorbike behind me, I probably would have jumped on that, because that had no issues at all. But the sidecar was very restrictive. Ultimately, I think the biggest takeaway from it is if you have long legs and you carry a lot of your height in your legs, or even potentially, if you have bigger hips, I think that could end up posing a problem for the sidecar. But the motorbike is very accessible. When I sat in that twice, it was like a dream. It did not feel restrictive in any way. It's a very interesting seating style, because you are up above, but then you're also leaning forward a little bit to grab onto the handlebars. It's a very comfortable seat in that one. So that's, and I love it. I love what they chose for the seats. That's what I was trying to say there. And I apologize. I'm kind of stumbling all over myself here because I'm trying to think of where I want to go with it. I'm already talking about the ride, so I might as well. So I rode pretty much in the front. I rode in the back, and I rode in the middle. Ultimately, a lot of people do want row one because, ultimately, it is fun being at the very front of it and have nothing else in front of you. I mean, it's a one-of-a-kind experience in that way, and it is something, if you're lucky enough to get it, then you're going to love it, especially like when you go up the spike. The moment where you go up at a 70-degree angle, I can't remember how high, like 60 feet, something like that. Being in the front of that is an awesome effect. However, if you're in the back rows for that, you barely go up at all. So it's kind of no thrills on that one. So that's a little bit of a shame with it. But I mean, that's just physics. That's how it works. It's impossible to please everyone on it. But ultimately, I think I liked riding in the back better. I felt like just, a lot of people like riding in the back of roller coasters because they feel like with the front of the car pulling it, that it's constantly faster, constantly moving. While I found this to be true with this attraction, it's also just because of the launches. I feel like when you are in the front, it does take that little extra time to build up the momentum, even though it's all happening at the same time. It just, I had better overall ride experiences sitting in the back. The middle wasn't that bad either. But I would, if you're in the very, very front, you're going to have a great time. If you're talking about being in like row 3, you might as well, if you're with friends and stuff, put them a little bit further up, try to get more to the back if possible at all. But you know what? It's very hit or miss on how the seating is going to work with it. So, the trains are comprised of 7 rows. So in each row you have a motorbike and a sidecar. So before you load on, they are going to ask you who's going to ride in the motorbike and who's going to ride in the sidecar. So you need to be prepared for that. So if you wait in the regular line and you want to ride in the motorbike for that, that's excellent. There is a single riders line, so I'm guessing a lot of single riders are inevitably going to get put into the sidecar unless someone really wants to ride in the sidecar. I don't understand why you would. Motorbike all the way for me. It's so much better. But anyways, there's 7 different rows on that, and it's not like a traditional roller coaster. It's more like Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket and Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, where it's actually on a belt that's constantly moving. So the trains will pull up, and you have to walk onto the belt and then move onto the train itself too. Because of this, it's a little bit harder for team members to kind of take row requests in that way, because the first person who groups you is not really in a position to really set it up, and then the second person can kind of do a little bit more, and the final person, once you get onto the belt, they can kind of do it, but then they might be asking they might have you stand to the side and then trying to pull up other people. It's just it's a shame, because I know people do like being able to choose their own rows on roller coasters, but it's with the style of how it's loading right now, at least, things could change in the future. It's really better off if you just accept what row you get and take it at that. And there's no real bad seats. It's just if you're in the front, you get that little bit of an extra thrill from having nothing else in front of you, and then also moments like the spike. But the ride itself is super smooth. The launches just keep that pace going up. Like I said, it's twisty, it's turning, it's winding. Big complaint right now that I know I knew it was going to happen before I even experienced it, so I'm not like complaining too much on it, but the Forbidden Forest, even though they planted so many trees for it, it's just not filled in yet. And I know that's going to come with time. The trees are going to grow. It's all going to expand. But right now for opening, it seems very, very bare. So in the future, I think it's going to be very awesome. But for right now, it's just a little bit too bare for my taste. Another complaint, I said it really keeps that speed moving the entire time. It does so, but even when you're going through some of the show scenes. So like when you go through the scene where you see the blast-ended Scroot and Hagrid, the 2 awesome animatronics, you are moving through there very, very quickly. So you get to see them, but not for long. And it's a shame for the Hagrid one, because the Hagrid animatronic looks amazing. The blast-ended Scroot's fun, but I also don't like that you can see the arm that it's on, and you can kind of see the mechanics of it. It feels like they could have just put some boxes or something in front of it to hide it, but they didn't. That's just minor issues there. Then with Fluffy, you pretty much fly right past Fluffy, which Fluffy still, you can see it, it's impressive, the 3-headed dog, but it'd be better if you got to actually sit there a little bit and take in how amazing the Fluffy animatronic is. And then the other stuff that they told us about before opening, like the Cornish pixies that are in the Flying Ford Anglia, those are right before you go up the spike, so you see it when you're going up and then as you're coming back down. And with that, it's a static thing, so it's not really that big of a deal that you're going so fast. But I love the Ford Anglia. That was one of my favorite things about Dragon Challenge, having it parked in the queue. So I could have taken some more time to see it if they would have found a way to do that. But then the centaurs in the Forbidden Forest, those fly by you so quickly. So you don't really get to see them long. And that leads into kind of the free fall drop portion, where you're entangled in Devil's Snare, and the only way to get out is to say a spell, and then you'll drop down. And it's a great moment during the daytime. It is very hard to see inside, because it does go from exterior bright sunny to an interior that's very, very dark, And so, like, the first time I did it, I could see the devil's snare, but it was really hard to make out the details to see that the snares were actually moving and such. But when I rode it at night, that's a completely different experience, and I'll get to that in just a second. So it was kind of hard to make out those awesome details in there, but the free fall drop is pretty cool, and then the ride essentially ends with the fast takeoff, and it is a fun way to end a ride, kind of the same way as in like Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts, when you take off right before the very end. I like ending on that nice speedy way. So, and then the last thing you do get to see is a unicorn, and there's actually 2 animatronics there, but I won't ruin that one for you. But really cool way to end the ride there. And so the experience, like I said, during the day is just, it's cool. But with the forest not feeling really built in, it feels like we're a couple years away from this ride being like awesome during the daytime. It still is a great roller coaster, but as a overall thematic experience, it will be better. It can and will be better. At night, that's a complete different experience because it is so dark, and there's a little bit of lighting in the area, but not that much. You feel like you're lost in a forest at night. And it is epic, and it feels faster. Everything just seems to be whizzing by. The lighting that they utilize during the like scenes with the animatronics and such, it's spot on. My only complaint at night is going back to the devil's snare. During the day, it's hard to really see the details. At night, your eyes don't have that extra time. They don't need that extra time to adjust. They're already adjusted. So when you pull in and you get entangled in the devil's snare, you can see all of the mechanics up above it. You can see them moving. You can see where they stop. You can see everything in there. So I don't know how they would have fixed it. It's the difference between riding it during the day and during night. And during the day, your eyes need longer to adjust. By the time you're out of there, your eyes probably just finally adjusted, so you miss out on a lot of that stuff. But at night, there's not really a workaround that I could think of it. Maybe fog, I don't know. Either way, the attraction is, I think it is ultimately my favorite roller coaster in Orlando right now. Not my favorite ride overall. That still would either go to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and then on some days I really love the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, and there's obviously great rides at Walt Disney World too, and at SeaWorld, and I'll even throw in Busch Gardens, but for Universal, this is a very special roller coaster, and it's not even just the roller coaster portion, it's also the queue. The queue is so well done compared to what it was with Dragon Challenge. I never saw the Dueling Dragons queue. I always heard from people who had experienced it and who worked there that it was just incredibly amazing, and it was so well done, and Dragon Challenge really stripped it down and really didn't fix it up. But I feel like Hagrid's is giving it its proper due. So for the most part, the way you walk through the queue is the exact same as Dragon Challenge. It still starts with the exterior portion. They added a little bit more down and backs behind Hagrid's hut by Flight of the Hippogriff, and they had to do that because now you're going to end up waiting outdoors for a little bit because they added a pre-show in what would have been the Champions tent back during Dragon Challenge. So you make your way winding outside all the way up till you get to the ruins, and then there's a set of double doors that are kind of on your left as you're looking directly forward at the ruins, and you actually go in these doors. You then go around the circular room where the Triwizard Cup used to be sitting at when it was Dragon Challenge, and that's like the only little small interior portion you do before you then make a right and go into the pre-show room. And the pre-show is with Arthur Weasley working on the motorbike and sidecar that you will inevitably be getting to ride on. He's tinkering with it, trying to fix it up to make it a way that all the guests can actually go to Hagrid's Care of Magical Creatures class and get into the Forbidden Forest. And of course, Hagrid shows up too. It's his attraction, so he has to, and he explains and sets up the story that you're going to the Care of Magical Creatures class in the Forbidden Forest, and you're going to see a blast-ended Scroot and Cornish pixies and maybe even a unicorn. And I already spoiled that you do get to see that, so sorry. Told you there would be spoilers in there, but the pre-show is cute. It's really done in the same way that it Escape from Gringotts, how you see the Office with Bill Weasley. It's the exact same style format as that. Because it does come so early in the queue, though, that's why I said you're going to wait more outside, because the show's around 3 minutes. So unless they just skip the show, they're going to pulse you in there. And they weren't throwing that many people in the room when I did it. I don't know if they'll increase the number as it moves forward and they need to get more people through there. But it was... I think it's going to be about an even split now between waiting outside and then also waiting inside on busy days. So you move through the pre-show, and after the pre-show, all the same rooms are the same. Generally, they're the same size as they were with Dragon Challenge, just a little setup. So like you move from the pre-show into a room before that just was kind of like pieces of wood in the ceiling, kind of messed around, and it was the room where the 3 golden eggs were for Dragon Challenge, and now it's kind of like a kitchen. So there's a big fireplace, lots of wood sitting up. There's embers kind of sparkling down there. There's a bunch of pots and pans stacked up, but then there's like foliage that's coming through the windows. So it's just completely redesigned. The next room that you move into is where Hagrid's storing all these eggs, and some aren't ready to hatch, some have hatched. There's a nice little nod to Dragon Challenge in here. In this room, you can, in one of the cabinet cases, you can find the golden egg that used to be above the entrance to Dragon Challenge. And that made me forget that there's also a nod to Dueling Dragons in Dragon Challenge. Is as soon as you walk in those double doors to get in the area that's going to lead you to the pre-show, directly in front of you on the wall is you'll see Dueling Club written out, and then on the left there will be a blue dragon, and on the right there's the red dragon, and it's kind of like a homage to the original entrance to Dueling Dragons, and obviously the color of the coasters. But so that's that room where all the eggs is. Before in the Dragon Challenge queue, that would have been where the candle room is. Again, completely different, so much brighter. These bright white windows in there that just allow so much light in. All these cool little details that look like all these ancient creatures painted on the wall. And that's in that same circular room too, where the Triwizard Cup used to be. That's all decorated with these paintings of the magical creatures. It seems like it's been there forever. It's really, really beautifully done. It feels like it's always been there, and obviously it's brand new, so it's just top-notch work on that. Then you make your way through the same tunnels that were there for Dragon Challenge and Dueling Dragons, and not a lot has changed, just little minor tweaks and adjustments along the way, and it's still pretty much a bland part of the queue, and it was getting warm. It used to always be like that in the Dragon Challenge days. Those tunnels would get very hot in places, and that was still the same. The next thing that was kind of redone in a little bit through the tunnels and the catacombs, there was an area where there's a big circular room where you just kind of went in and turned around. Now that's been completely redesigned to I believe it's Hagrid's office. I forgot to ask anyone, but there's a big desk set up, and there's oversized gloves that only Hagrid could use, and there's books with magical creatures, and all on the walls there's all these posters for magical creatures. There's even a poster for a Niffler, so I like that they brought that in as well too. But it's a really cool room with lots of details, so there's plenty to look at while you're stuck in that one area as part of the queue. And then more tunnels, and then the final room that you're in before you actually board the attraction. It's this big open room, and then above you see all these floorboards, and there's just a white light that sometimes has like all these rainbow colors moving around. But it's really cool because you can see like the motorbike moving around on top of it, and then you'll hear voices. It's very hard to hear in there, but I believe it's Arthur and Hagrid talking, and then Arthur turning the one motorbike into that row of 7, and you can see them testing and driving around. There's spiders crawling. it's a cool room, and it all keeps that story building up. So this is a story coaster according to Universal, and it does go along with the story. I will say it doesn't need the story at all. It's a fun roller coaster. So like if one day they were to say, okay, we need more people to go through quicker, we've got to cut the pre-show out. You're not gonna not understand what's happening. The same way as in Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. If you don't get to hear everything that Dumbledore is saying and Harry, Ron, and Hermione in the Defense Against the Dark Arts room, if you don't hear all that, you can still inevitably put together what the story is. And the same thing goes with this attraction. You can figure it out. You're going into the forest, because there's onboard blah. There is onboard ride audio with Hagrid talking to you along the way as you're going. So you also have that. You have the music. It all comes together like that. It's really, really good. I had been hearing how good it was leading up to the attraction opening, and it is. It's remarkable. Universal has received a lot of flack over the past couple of years because of the screens that they've been using in their rides. So Skull Island Reign of Kong, very screen heavy, although it does have an amazing queue, an awesome exterior to it, the transport vehicles, the Kong animatronic, those are all amazing. Race to New York starring Jimmy Fallon, another screen simulator, but with a cool queue, but the ride itself is garbage. Fast and Furious Supercharged, more people hate that than like it, and a lot of the reasons why they hate it is because it's another awful screen attraction, and it just captures nothing of what the Fast and Furious movies are like, but I still see some good in it. But I'm definitely in the minority on that, but it was a rough couple of years. Really, the only hit out of those, in my opinion, and what I've seen from wait times, is Skull Island Reign of Kong. So this is a very big turnaround for Universal. It's what everyone wanted it to be. So when it was first announced, some people did think there was still going to be screens. I thought that we were going to utilize screens with it, and really, besides the pre-show and then little video screens they put in to let you know how to actually load onto the vehicles. Besides that, I mean, we're talking practical everything, practical sets with the Forbidden Forest, the practical animatronics. It's all real, and it was all really, really well done. So today's the opening day of it, and it had a line, and I'm sure it still does have a line, and it will continue to have a line, and it will continue tomorrow and the next day and the next day after that. So it's going to be very popular for a very long time. So keep that in mind if you're heading here this summer specifically to ride Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. You're probably going to wait, and I have to say, I do think it will be worth it. I don't remember if I said it already or if I just wrote it, but like I'm one of those people living in Orlando that I don't want to wait for anything if I don't have to. But like, if I had a friend come down that wanted to go on this, I would wait 90 minutes, 2 hours for it without even hesitating on that. I think you really get what you put in time. I think you really get out of it what you put into the waiting. So it is a nice long experience. You get a lot out of it from the queue as well too. It's a very overall well done production by Universal, and it's a hit. It really is a hit. So I've ridden it 4 times, and I can't wait to ride it again. I need more rides on it to really solidify my thoughts anymore. I mean, yes, it's been a couple days that I've been thinking about it, and I had those couple rides, which is more than a lot of people have had the chance to, probably more than most people, so I do consider myself lucky with that, but I need to get on it a couple more times to really, really let it sink in on my overall thoughts on it. But so obviously this isn't going to be the last time I talk about it. We will talk about it on a future episode of the Universal Edition, especially getting Rhino's input on it. But I felt like I had to do something. I really wish I would have remembered to vlog the experience of being on it. right while I was in that moment, like my first initial reaction, but it just, like I said, it went over my head, and I can't film on it anyway. So I forgot to mention that with it. All loose articles do need to go inside a locker. So we're talking bags, backpacks, cameras, purses, souvenir cups, wands. Those all need to go in. You can go through the line with like your wallet and car keys and cell phone, but before you get on the attraction itself, everything needs to be secured in your pocket. So that's why we don't have any video of the actual attraction in motion, because you're not allowed to do that. So I'm sure someone already has done it, and it's out there all over the internet, and that's great for them, but they do not want that. So that's why we didn't have any of that to go along here with this. But that's something good to know, that when you're going on the attraction, so you have to leave all the big stuff behind, but like your cell phone, you can have it in that ridiculous long queue that you're going to be through, and no metal detectors or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm sure I missed something else, and like I said, we'll talk about that again the next time I actually go over this really fully with Rhino and such on our show. But I hope you enjoyed sitting back and hearing my inane ramblings on this, which it went on way longer than I ever expected it to. So I apologize for that. But if you have anything to say to me, leave it in the comments below. If you already wrote it, please let me know what you thought about it down in those comments below as well too. And as always, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we have any new videos, and hit that thumbs up if you like this video. So I'll see you again next time with something better than this. Sorry again, but thanks for watching. I'll see you again.